Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Creators Lounge podcast. I am your host, Jaye, and today we have a super cool guest. My man, let these people know who you are.
I'm Kjords, but y'all can call me KJ or whatever. It's cool.
All right, guys. Kjords, this has been a long time coming. We've known each other for over a year, and we've been talking about doing this for so long, man. So the first thing we have to start with is who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
Well, my name's Kjords. A lot of my bros call me KJ because it's much simpler. I think Generator gave me that nickname, or Easterize. One of the two gave me that nickname, and it just stuck.
Yep.
And I make electronic music of all styles, but as of right now, I'm making more reggaeton and tropical and dance hall inspired music.
That is
pop music mainly.
Fantastic, man. And you are based in Canada, correct?
Yeah. From a province called Alberta. Edmonton is my city.
All right, man. Let's go. So we got to rewind because, it's always so good to start from the beginning. Where did this start for you? Where did music come into the picture? When did you start, getting interested in making stuff?
It's kind of an interesting story because when I was like around 9-ish years old, or maybe like not even 9, but like 6 or like something like that, where I was very, very young, I would like go to parties with my parents, family get-togethers and all that. And upstairs, the older kids at that time, they'd listen to music, and I'd, sometimes I'd peep in and I'd hear what they're listening to. But one night, something really stuck to me. It was like in the early 2010s, and I ended up listening to a song by Skrillex. I don't know if it was either Bangarang or it was like something like that. Then I listened to Martin Garrix, and I was like, wow, this sounds really dope. But I didn't know this could be a career. I thought these were just guys that lived in their basements and didn't make $20 million a year. They were just guys that lived in their basements and made some random sounds until it sounded good. So I was like, it's really cool. So I just listened to it and I was like, hey, it's cool. Then around when I was 11 years old, I was like, you know what? I want to try this because I don't do anything with my life other than study, which my parents make me do. So I might as well do something here. So I was like, I'll start it. And I didn't really know what the hell to do because turns out it's not pushing random buttons until something good comes out. It's pushing very calculated buttons until something very good comes out, right?
Precisely.
And just a lot of
kind of went from there. No, I understand. No, for real. And I think a good comparison for it, is starting off with a block and how you start chipping away at it until you can actually make it into like a beautiful statue.
Oh yeah.
Same way with music, you get into it not knowing what you're doing. You're just pushing random, keys and buttons, and then later you can refine the process, and make it more into what you want to make it. So, real quick for reference, about how long have you been creating music then?
Around 4 years, because I started producing when I was 11 years old, and now I'm 15 now, so...
Great, so about 4 years. You must have learned so much in those 4 years, and I know that because I've talked with you and I've seen you grow. But let's go ahead and sum it up. What are some of the fundamental things you have learned over those past 4 years?
Well, when I started, I was like, people told me, just use chord packs, just use melody packs, and I was like, you know what? Screw that. I'll learn basic music theory instead because that's better in the long run. And you know what? It took me almost 2 years to actually get a grasp on how to compose a song in the first place. Then next came, basic mastering. And I was like, basic mixing to make it, make the piano fit in with the drums, make the synth fit in with the bass. You have to, EQ, compression, all those basic things. That, I think, came in more of my third year. And then on my fourth year, which is kind of like running right now, like after 3.5 to my fourth year, which is running right now, it became, I'd say, my biggest achievement yet, which was sound design, which is like, I create all my sounds on my own. I don't use any presets, and for the last year, I'm proud to say since January 1st, 2019 to now, I have not used a preset on any of the songs that I've released.
Oh yeah, bro, flex. Flex on them. It's hardly even a flex though, because it's just hard work. It's hard effort that you put in over the years. And it's so cool to hear you talk about this honestly, you know, going from knowing nothing, you know, and then slowly adding more and more to your repertoire over the years, picking up new skills every year. It's really, really super cool to see you grow and to hear you talk about it as well. What do you think was the hardest step in those 4 years as far as music production?
I'd say what's hard is to willing to accept that you need to learn. You can like not even accept it, but just like getting ready to know that there's a lot you have to learn. Like especially when it came to like, you know, actually the fundamentals of composing a song. I was like, you know, most people a lot of people just use chord packs, or even if they are composing, they'll just, you know, do everything the most basic way possible. But no, I wanted to learn what sevenths were, what ninths were, you know, how to make suspended chords, all that stuff, because I knew that if I learned more and you know, learn, you know, way more, I could innovate it, I could do more new stuff with it, I could make it cooler, right? And
for sure. And you just get more control the deeper you dig into it.
Yeah.
The more control you have.
So I guess it's a lot of the amount you have to learn getting ready for it, and yeah, that really is it. But I'd say composing is compared to what sound design and mixing and mastering did to me. I really wish I could just go back to learning composing, because sound design and mixing and mastering is a whole different field of like hell.
Yeah, man, it's tedious stuff. Absolutely, for sure. You mentioned something interesting, and I want to rewind to it. You said one of the hardest things was just admitting and accepting that you have to grow. Why was that difficult for you?
It wasn't really difficult for me, but what was hard for me was like accepting the fact that, hey, the interest you found, turns out it's gonna be a hell of a roller coaster, because you're gonna have a lot to learn, and probably for the next little while you're not gonna make anything that you'd actually want to share with people. And that was kind of true for me. Like I did want to share it, but for the next 2 years I couldn't really make. My first 2 years I honestly couldn't make something that I would say was possible for it to, you know, sound radio worthy, or sound like something people would add to their playlist, sound like something people would, you know, love. Because let's be honest here, I could have done maybe something really basic in my first year that people liked, but I wanted to do something advanced, and for that I did have to fall a lot of times, and I guess I did have to make a lot of bad songs to be able to create really advanced good songs now. But for that, before I had to create a lot of really advanced shit songs. So you know,
key, that's a really, really key insight you just talked about just now. You know, accepting the fact that you had to make crap to improve and get better. I want to talk to you about that specifically. How did it feel whenever you would finish a song and tell yourself, this is not what I want to be making? Like, how did it feel whenever you were putting out content, not releasing it obviously, but making content that you just felt like wasn't up to par? What did that do for you emotionally?
That's actually funny, because see, even though back then my songs weren't really good quality, and if I listen to them, I'm like, I wonder who got more brain damage, me after making this, or like the person who had the unfortunate, you know, displeasure of having to hear this, right? But to me at the time,
yeah,
I was like, I would release anything. It would be absolute crap, but I'd be like, okay, the second I release this thing's gonna get 1 million views. Martin Garrix and Spinning Records are gonna call me. They're gonna fly me out to Amsterdam, and before I know it, I'll be performing at Coachella, and there we go. But then it would get like 40 views, and it would not go anywhere, because I guess
that's reality. Yeah,
that's what it is. But I truly loved it. It was, for me, it was like the best music I've heard in my life. I was like, because it was like, I made this. I was like, I have no musical knowledge whatsoever back then, but I became from a person who didn't know anything about music. I didn't play any instruments. My parents didn't put me in any musical thing, to learning how to compose a whole song start to finish on my own. That thing's pretty cool.
It's so cool, man. And it's so cool that you could take the pride in it, that you took pride in creating that and making it. I think that's the key thing. I feel like you have really strong self-belief, which we'll dig into more later on. But let's talk about it for a minute, because you said you were putting out some of this stuff, you know, and expecting to do really well. And, you know, whenever it didn't do very well, how did you respond to that?
Honestly, before I even got to see the stats, I was working on a new song, so I was like, So every time something would, not do very well and wouldn't get to the place I wanted it to get to, I'd just be like, shh. So what? I'm working on a new song already. This one, guys, trust me, this one's gonna do good. It's probably gonna be not that different from the last one, but trust me, this one will do good.
Oh, it's so cool. I love that energy. I honestly love that energy because I think it's so easy for a lot of people to do that same situation. Make something, think it's so great, put it out, it flops, and say, oh, I should give up. I'm not making any progress. Whereas for you, you're like, whatever. I'm on to the next one. It's going to be better already. Where do you think that comes from, KJ? Where does that energy come from to be on to the next thing, to keep improving regardless of the past results?
Because it's just so fun to just work on something new already, because like I can't, it's so weird how people just say sad over one song, where I'm like, just start a new project. That's what I do. The second I'm done a track, well, that's something I'm going to go into a bit later maybe, but the second I'm done a track, usually I start up, maybe experimenting, doing something new, maybe looking at my track, saw what I didn't know how to do last time. I didn't know how to master something properly. I didn't know how to mix something in properly.
Yep.
Next track, I make sure I watch videos on that and I start experimenting with it. So next track, I'm ready for it. So it's just something that's so fun to me. So I'm like, it's just natural to me. I'm done one song. Why would I wait for the stats when I could just start working on another song already? Right?
Yeah, man, for sure. No, like you're talking about here, I think it's so important to enjoy what you do, to love what you do, and you're doing it because you enjoy it. That's how you can create a truly authentic product, I think, and that's what a truly authentic piece of art, rather, that's what people can resonate with. So before we wrap up this kind of section, I want to ask you, what are some key things that you would tell to young producers, who are only like 6 months into it, 1 year into it? What would you say to them? Coming from a place that you have been doing it for 4 years, looking back on that, what advice would you give to young creators?
Don't simp over any girls, because that will waste your time a lot. And second of all, be ready to accept that. Be ready to just, have fun with it, and know that in 6 months, if you continue in 6 months, just always come with this theory that in 6 months I'll be better than what I was right now.
Fantastic.
In 1 month I'll be better than what I was right now, because in all honesty, it will take you a long time to get big, but it won't take you that, but what you can dumb it down to is how long it will take you to be better than what you are right now. And you know what, just work with that pace. Be better than what you were yesterday at producing.
Fantastic.
Keep thinking like that.
Yeah, really, really solid advice for sure. Let's dig into your music process a little bit. What is your approach to making music? How do you start tracks? How do you make a song?
Well, when I'm remixing a song, then the idea is simple. If it's on if it's in any Spotify playlist of mine and I haven't heard it yet, I remove it, and I make sure I don't listen to the original song at all when I'm making a remix. Then when you get the stems for a remix, like you get the bass, you get the vocals, you get the drums, you get the chords. I delete everything except for the vocals on my PC, because I want this to be for me. I'm not a vocalist, so of course I'm gonna keep the vocals, but the rest, I'm a producer. Why am I using somebody else's thing when I can do it myself? So I take those and I'm like, you know what, though, then I start making some chords. I prepare some chords with the vocals and add a melody, some arps, some drums, and I guess that's really it. I make maybe my melody more towards the end of the foundation process, but pretty much that's it, I guess. And making my own presets, that's something that's very important to me. I do not use any presets at all anymore.
Yep.
So
that's cool. That's cool. I think it's really interesting what you said a minute ago. You talked about deleting the song. You don't want to hear the original. You delete all the other elements. You're only working with the vocals themselves. And that, again, speaks to your want to completely control the world that you're creating with your music. It's really cool. What's the ambition behind that? Why are you so focused on making something completely original?
Because I guess then people can truly know what is me, right? If I make a remix like that, then people are like, oh, it's so much like the original. How do we know that's not him just putting a drum loop on top of it? I was like, you know what, they're right. When I should make a remix, it should resonate as me. It should be me. In if you kind of getting what I'm saying, like it should be when people hear it. I want people to know that this is all me except for the vocals. This is like a totally different song if you think about it. It's like as if the vocalist collabed with me instead of someone else. That's what would have happened, and I think that should be the idea behind the remix. That's not just like a
it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely, I get it completely. No, it's cool, and I think it's what a lot of the great musicians have done. Like, you know, if you hear an Avicii song, like, you know it's Avicii, right? And, you know, if you hear a Skrillex song, like, you know it's Skrillex. It's got their touch to it. And I kind of feel like that's what you're doing, KJ, you know, as far as, like, completely controlling everything that the song is and making it completely into your own, which is really cool. Are you happy with your sound at the moment, and how do you want to grow and change your sound?
See, one thing, I am happy with what I'm making right now. I'd say it sounds pretty professional. People listen to it and they're like, wow, I can't believe you made this. It sounds like it could be on the radio and stuff like that. But I'd say maybe a couple of months from now, my sound will maybe be totally different, because I'd say, like, you know, all the artists that I like, Skrillex, Diplo, Major Lazer, they have a wide range of sounds that they make. DJ Snake, I'd say they do have quite of a range of songs that they make, because you know, Skrillex had made slow, down-tempo songs, or he's made hardcore festival songs. So I guess it could be like, I am happy with the sound I'm making right now, but I don't want to make this thing forever. I'm going to change eventually, and I guess that will keep people interested, and you know, it might even help me set a new standard for electronic musicians that, you know, whereas it used to be you were just known for one thing, now maybe we can create new stuff, innovate more, and maybe even make our own genres and all that.
Man, it's so cool to hear you talk about this. And I agree completely. You know, I think one of the great things that the musicians that we look up to have done is they've been unafraid to innovate and embrace new sides of themselves and express new sides of themselves as well. Pardon me. And that kind of goes back to change, right? Like, it's all about change and embracing change and being comfortable with change and being okay with change. KJ, I do feel like you're someone who is very, very comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're very, you know, adaptive to change. Where does that come from? Was it experience that taught you that change is good? Is it something that you're natively good at changing? Talk about it for just a minute if you could.
Well, because I've had to change my life many times, just going from becoming a regular, you know, weird kid who didn't make music to a weird kid who did make music. I'd say was a pretty big change. To you know, maybe being the weird kid who didn't work out and was unhealthy, to the weird kid who did work out and was healthy. That was a change. And you know, change is great in my opinion. It's like when stuff changes, a lot of the time it's for the better, right? If stuff, and especially when you're changing on your own, when you're being pushed by your surroundings to change, obviously it's gonna suck. Obviously you're gonna feel pressured. But when you're able to flow and change on your own, it'll just go like momentum. You don't need to feel the pressure when you're the one moving itself, right?
Yeah. Man, this is what I love about talking with KJ though, guys, right here, because this is the exact same thought that I've been having recently. I've kind of had the realization. I'm gonna write off of what you said, KJ, about how change is gonna happen no matter what. Like, we don't get to decide that. Change is gonna happen, right? And so what I've been thinking about lately is like how much better it is to choose the changes that happen to us rather than wait for it to happen to us, because whenever we wait for it, we just have to accept it, whatever it is, whether it sucks or whether it rocks. Whereas if, you know, we get to choose, if we're choosing what we want to change, you know, whether it's our appearance or our sound or our exercise routine or our habits, like, then we're being proactive about making a change, and, you know, we can have more energy, more dedication, and more interest in the changes that are happening because we're choosing it, you know?
And if you don't like the change that is happening, well, if it's going to change regardless, you might as well go to a change that you will like, that you can stay dedicated to. Because if you wait for the pressure to build up and having to change, then you don't get to choose anything. You just get what's given to you. And if you don't like it, then it's going to be pretty bad.
That's right, man. You become reactive rather than proactive. So, you know, in this same vein of like change and embracing change and facing changes, you know, for you, KJ, you have been through so much in your life, from the conversations that you and me have had personally, you know, and even professionally, as you're talking about on the show today, like, was there times when you felt like giving up or quitting, whether it was in music or something else?
There were times I felt in quitting up on like, I never really felt on quitting music for some reason. That's just something that never came to me.
Mm-hmm.
Something that, like, maybe if you were to talk about rock bottom, I could, you know, kind of resonate with you on that. It was
Let's talk about that, man. Let's go there. So you feel like you have hit rock bottom before?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Take us back to that place. Take us to that place. Tell us like what triggered it, you know, what it was like being there.
I wouldn't like to go too deep into details, because, you know, but I did hit rock bottom at a certain point in my social life settings. And it was at a time when I would, you know, work less on music, so I could, you know, I would resonate less with music when I could, so I could, you know, maybe fit in with the people that I just didn't really matter. I just thought that they did.
Yeah, man.
And basically, eventually, because of that whole thing I was doing, trying to fit in a group that wasn't me, and something that I guess I couldn't resonate with, something that I couldn't vibe with, something that was just not good, very toxic, not good for me.
Yeah, if we can, and I'm sorry to cut you off, KJ, if we could dig into it a little bit more, and I'm not sure if you're comfortable with sharing it or not, you don't have to, but, you know, what do you think it was that pulled you into that group? You know, why did you get attracted to that group?
Honestly, they were just like the, you know, kind of like popular group, and they, I liked a girl who, I guess I thought she'd like me more if I was in this, and I kind of ended up simping over her and all that. It was a lot of wasted time and wasted energy.
Sure,
and I guess it didn't really help me as a person.
Yeah, it makes sense, man. I think a lot of people get pulled into that so easily, you know.
Made me a less positive person as well, so I guess it wasn't good for me, but...
all around. How did you realize, though? Because I think that's something that's so hard for people. They get sucked into that situation, right? The promise of popularity and good times and whatever. But I think it's so hard for people to come to the realization that, oh, wait, I'm in a bad place. I don't want to be here anymore. What was it for you that made you come to that realization?
The realization was just that something happened that made me feel like, wow, I've really messed up. You know, I felt kind of like betrayed, kind of like, you know, I felt like shit. I felt like I was at the most bottom place you could be, right? And I was like, well, right now there's two things I could do. I could either become a worse person and, you know, do whatever I can to fit in with these people again and start, you know, simping over a girl that doesn't care about me.
Which is again, a great option.
Or I could, you know, start doing worse stuff, because maybe back then I wouldn't really do a lot of the bad stuff maybe that group would do, but I would also, but I was like, maybe if I start being more, do some of the more extreme, some of the more bad things, they'll help let me fit in more if I do some of the bad things they do. And I was like, or I could do what I really love to do and just focus fully on that, which was, I'd say, make music. And I was like, well, either they're gonna make fun of me for this, which they kind of did, and I'm at the bottom already. They're not gonna push me down even. So if there's only one place I'm going, it's going up.
That's right. That's right.
So I was like, let's just focus on music then. And I guess I did end up cutting a lot of them off and adding them from social media and all that, but. And it did resonate with me. I have a lot of the times I do make friends now, but a lot of times I have less people to sit with at lunch. But that's all cool for me because I can watch music production videos and I can go to the gym and all that. But yeah, I do have less people around me right now. But I'd say the people who are around me are worth it, and I do have enough care and, you know, respect for them, and they have enough care and respect for me.
Fantastic. It's really cool. KJ, I do want to dig into it a little bit more, just because I know that so many people listening are going through the same kind of situation, bad influences, you know, dealing with people at school, toxic, you know, relationships or whatever. I want to ask you this specifically. Getting out of that place, was it like small steps that you took, or was it like just one all of a sudden, okay, I'm done with you guys, I'm doing this now?
Well, it was supposed to go really slowly and really small. Like when I was it happened in 9th grade, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna start slowly talking to them less, maybe focus on music more. But then one day during summer, like when I was on summer holidays and I was about to go to grade 10, I just unadded a lot of them from my social media, and I was like, screw you all. Well, not screw you all. I was like, I wish you the best in life at this point, but I don't want to be there with you.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I hope you become better people and you just get somewhere in life, right?
Sure, man, sure. So to kind of sum it up then, it sounded like to me like the main points then were, first of all, have something else to do with your time. So getting away from these toxic people, have an interest. For you is music. For someone else, it could be sports or it could be makeup or whatever. And the other thing is kind of pushing them off of social media as well. Is there anything else you would suggest to people in this kind of situation?
Just find people that will care about you for what you are, and most of all, just accept yourself as that. You don't really rely on anyone. Don't rely on people. Just be there for yourself, I'd say, is really important. Just let it flow at this point. What happens will happen, right? That's what I think.
I love it, man.
The change that brought to me, it was a huge change for me because it kind of changed my life dramatically, but I liked it. And you know what? It was going to happen regardless. Either they were going to oust me or like make me a social outcast, or I could have done it myself. And I did it myself, and I'm in a much better place.
Yeah, man. You got to take the control of the situation, and choose how it turned out, which is really, really cool. It's fantastic. It's a great story, and it's really empowering as well. And I'm glad that we could talk about it here in the podcast, because you and me have talked about it a lot in private chats, and now we can get to share it publicly, and help other people going through the same situation, which is really exciting to me, being able to share this message with other people. So thank you for sharing that, KJ. Really, really valuable stuff. One more thing I want to look at is, you said that now you have kind of less people around you, but the people who are around you are really high quality, which is really great. Do you ever feel lonely? And how does the internet play a role in your social atmosphere?
I do feel lonely sometimes because, I am friends with a lot of groups, but I'm not really in a certain group myself per se. I'm not completely with the fitness center kids. I'm not completely with the music kids. I'm not completely with the normal kids. I'm just, I guess I'm just a guy who, goes wherever life takes me, right? And right. I do really, but I guess being with myself is a great thing because I focus on what I can make better about myself. I get more physically fit. I make better music. So I do feel lonely. It is there. It's there a lot, to be honest, sometimes. But a lot of the time, you just gotta go with it, man. You just fill your mind up with something else. Watch music production vids. Just do something like that.
Feel it out, kind of embrace it, yeah.
And as far as the internet goes with all of this, on the internet, like on places like Discord, you can find a lot of people who are from the same craft as you. Like, I make music. There's like tons of production Discords, and I guess people talk there. We give each other advice, and we can relate to each other. We as producers have a lot of struggles that we relate to each other. So it feels nice to have someone talk to you about it, because there's not a lot of producers around in the world compared to other types of musical artists, in my opinion. There's probably way more pianists or guitarists or something like that.
Sure, like or a specific instrument. Yeah, makes sense.
But with producers, I'd say, or at least EDM, especially since how much harder I think EDM is than electronic music is than other genres of producing. There's not a lot of us, but when we do get together, I'd say we relate to each other a lot. Talk for hours. You and me talk for hours about producing. Me and Generator and Eastrise have done 4-hour streams just talking and working on music.
It's incredible, man. It's incredible. And I love it so much because I do think the internet gets a bad rep, especially for causing social anxiety, quote unquote, or, making people loners and stuff like that. But I feel like for you and me, the internet has played such a huge role in giving us the chance to meet. Yeah, connecting with positive-minded people, like-minded people that can be really hard to find in real life,
Yeah, and I'd say, like, for people who do have made most of their, life on the internet, I guess, as long as you're getting some fresh air in you'll be fine, I guess. You right. just be happy with life is what matters. Just be happy.
That's the truth, man. Happiness is just so underrated, you know, these days, and I think it's a key thing. Something that's really interesting about you, though, KJ, is just the fact that you are kind of surrounded by barriers and difficulties and challenges. I mean, the situations you've been through, you know, expectations that, you know, people have for you, you know, and anything that you struggle with and deal with, because you and me have talked a lot about your challenges and stuff like that. However, you continue to be so optimistic about stuff working out. You're very proactive in changing your life for the best. Where does that energy come from? Like, what is fueling that? Where do you think you get that energy and that desire to improve and get better from?
Honestly, 12-year-old me 12-year-old me and me right now have pretty much the one thing in common, is that we love music. And you know what? If that kid back then at 11 years old with no musical knowledge whatsoever could believe that this is something that is for him, that this is something that he could make forever, that he could make it big through this. If he can believe that, and he had no musical knowledge whatsoever, he didn't know how to do jack shit. I have knowledge right now. How can I not believe in myself at this point, right?
So true. So true. And I think, and that's what's so cool about it, man, is that, you know, you and me have both been to like rock bottom before, you know, very difficult places before. And I think that ultimately it's made you and me stronger, because we're like, okay, if I can make it out of that situation, every situation from here on out, it's going to be a piece of cake, you know, as a, you know, touche, but, you know, it's whenever you've seen the worst there can be, you know, other situations, other challenges that don't seem as difficult to us, you know, so it's true. It's
just how much I love making music. On impulse, the first thing I'll do when I have my laptop is, you know, if I'll have like an assignment due, that's why I open up my laptop. My first impulse is, since I have FL Studio in my taskbar, the mouse just goes there and it clicks on it, and FL Studio starts running, and I was like, oh dang, I have to close it now. Or I could just work on some things in my track, and I'll go to my assignment, and I'm like, or I could just spend 4 hours doing this and I'll work on my schoolwork tomorrow, but I end up doing both at the same night, so it's okay, I guess.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I love it. Let's mention this real quick, because you mentioned it to me before in a separate chat, and I want to share it to the public as well. You have a life hack for making sure that you focus on music. What is it?
Yeah, so apparently I've been diagnosed with like ADHD and minor autism, right? Mm-hmm. So the cool thing about that was like, I was like, okay, so I need to practice guitar, and recently I've been actually focusing on guitar much more since I started sitting at the front, and I actually, you know, started paying attention in class, so I got much better. But what I would do is I'd keep a keyboard with my drum pads and a guitar and a laptop in front of me all at once. So, because I know I'm going to get distracted no matter what, even if it's my favorite thing in the world, producing, I'm getting distracted. It's something I can't control. But what I can control is what I get distracted to. So the second my focus shifts away from producing, it will go on my keyboard, and I can just open up something like melodics or something like that and practice keyboard. If it goes away from the keyboard, boom, drum pads. I can practice with my drum pads. If it shifts away from there, boom, we got guitar. So I am getting distracted no matter what, but it's focusing on the same thing, and simultaneously, those things, when I work with them together, they're all helping my music. So I'm like, I can spend hours working on music while getting distracted at the same time, but focusing on one thing.
Oh, dude, I love it so much. Guys, this is how it's done. It's so cool how he's making a total life hack here. You know, he's choosing his distractions. He's choosing what he's putting his effort towards. You know, it's simple. It kind of mind games a little bit, right? To anywhere he turns, he's seeing it. Anybody who's listening, you guys can do the exact same thing with whatever talent you're trying to pick up. Just make sure that what you want to do is all around you at all times. If you want to write books, make sure you have pens and pencils lying all over your bedroom. You know, notebooks, pieces of paper, different books to inspire you. Just adapt it for your own situation. Super, super great life hack. What you want to do, Keep it around you at all times. KJ, thank you for sharing that, man. Super powerful stuff. Okay, so bro, 4 years in, you have long since laid the groundwork for a successful career in music. I think that right now you're kind of in the building stage where you're starting to make stuff, you know, that's more polished or more of what you, more authentic to what you want to create now and putting it out there.
More like, you know, professional sounding, right?
Sure, exactly, right? So go ahead and give us a glimpse into your future as a musician. What are some of the things you want to achieve and do as a musician, as a music creator?
See, because for right now, what I was like, if I could create something on my own, that was possible to create something on my own, if it was possible, somebody had done it already, and there was, you know, a formula or something like that for it. I was like, I want to be able to do it. If I could do it, if it was somebody had done it before, I could do it. So I did it. Now my goal is to do something that no one has ever dreamt of doing. And, you know, if people thought this is impossible, no one actually does this, right? But I want to do that now. Second of all, what I want to do mainly for the electronic music communities, even though it's mainly in pop music, I want it to be like a bigger community. I want people to recognize electronic musicians as the main composers of today. That's, I guess, one of the reasons I want to maybe make it big, so like that more people, and also because I just want to carry the community forward. Because when I was feeling like a weird kid who didn't fit in anywhere, I saw Skrillex and I was like, hey, that could be me one day, right? I could do that. I like music and I want to create stuff. I was like, that could be me one day. So maybe a couple of years into the future, some weird kid could look at me and just be like, you know what, that could be me one day. He's not normal, I'm not normal, but you know what, we both like music, we both like to create, so it will take a long time, but we can do this, right? So
yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. It's really, really cool, and I love that kind of vision. I'm gonna kind of take that loosely as your kind of definition of success. I don't know what your specific definition of success is, and maybe you don't know as well, but do you feel like you have achieved any level of success so far?
Yeah, I got my music to sound, I'd say, radio worthy. I got my to the point where I'm not afraid of sharing it to people. I can send my music to anyone, and they'd admit that, yo, this actually sounds like, you know, something I would actually listen to. This sounds something professional, like someone who's actually established made it.
Yep.
That's an achievement for me to get, you know, over 10,000 views on SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
When people told me that you won't even reach 1,000, to get over 12,000 for me was like, wow, that's pretty good, right?
It is, man. It's great, and it's so cool that you can recognize your achievements, and also that you can celebrate your achievements. And it's just so incredible, man, to see you grow and the way you have developed over the years. Do you feel like the other aspects of your life play into your life as a musician? Like, do you think that going to the gym helps you as a musician? Do you think that studying helps you as a musician?
I'd say going to the gym kind of helps me because, well, in a very small way, because what I do is I'll play one of my songs while I'm working on it. I'm like, this bores me, or if it sounds kind of lame, I will probably have to make some adjustments. Kind of like, you know, the car test where you have to, like, you know, play your song in a car while you drive around, and if it's boring you and if it doesn't feel like it fits in with the radio songs, you need to make some alterations.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I guess that's how the gym helps me. But I'd say school doesn't really help me, to be honest, to be frank. I guess it helps me learn to be more focused, learn to do stuff, but a lot of the time I feel like doing all these advanced classes just really slows me down from music, and the only reason I'm doing them, to be honest, is to have a backup plan in case music doesn't work out
Makes sense.
the way it was supposed to.
Yep, makes sense. And let's talk about that for a minute, and maybe this one counts, but there could be other stuff as well. What do you think are the biggest barriers to you that are holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve as a musician? Because obviously, you know, you have dreams and goals as a musician. What are the barriers that are keeping you back from those goals and ambitions?
I'd say a lot of it is like I don't know what the barrier for me would really be, because you see, I've had barriers, especially when I started. I just go on a shitty PC, and there'd be too many underruns, and, like, you know, when the sound is like buffering and all that. But I got over that. I just rendered a file and had to render it, and I'd have to, you know, calculate what's wrong with there so that I pinpoint it. But
Right.
Whatever a barrier for me would be right now is probably schoolwork, I'd say, is because I guess sometimes when I'm feeling really in the mood to make music, I feel like I'd work on music so much more if I didn't have school on me. But I guess I'm getting better at it. I finished a song in 2 weeks now.
Wow.
While having exams and a whole lot of other shit. So it's something I can do, to be honest. It's like, if it's possible for me, I'll do it. I'll find a way to do it. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, if it's a barrier, I'll find a way around it, or I'll go under it, or I'll go over it, whatever it takes.
That's right, man. Go right through it, dude, for real. And
yeah,
what you've
exactly.
done with all of your barriers so far is you've continually found a way to make them work for you rather than work against you. And you know, if there is one good thing that school is helping you with, you know, I think it could be that time management would be a big one, right? Because you're learning how to deal with this super hectic, busy school schedule, still make songs and release them, have a social life, you know, go to the gym. So, you know, which could be very helpful later on if you're touring or whatever it may be in the future. So, you know, keep up the good work for sure, man. What can we expect from you in 2020?
More better quality music and a lot more, you know, a lot more. Already right now, I think I already have more than I did last year. Last year took me, I guess it's not a lot because like on maybe YouTube and all that, it's easier to get views. Not easier, but like I've had a lot of SoundCloud, but I'm moving away from SoundCloud. I'm on YouTube and Insta right now. But last year it took me a whole like year to get 100 followers on my music Insta. But right now on my music Insta, and I'd say under a month, I'm already at 60 more followers. So I guess that's some improvement. I'm hoping by the end of the year, my goal is that I want to have more than what I had last year.
Great.
And I think I've already reached that.
All right, man.
So,
fantastic. So more music, more content, more audience then.
Yeah, and also one funny thing I should mention is that the realization I made about in elementary school, my parents put me in advanced classes so I wouldn't get screwed in junior high. And then in junior high, they put me in advanced classes so I wouldn't get screwed in high school. But then they screwed me by putting me in advanced classes in high school so I don't get screwed at university. But I know they're also going to screw me by putting me in advanced classes or like a harder university course so I don't get screwed at my job. But then I'm probably going to get a harder job so I get screwed there so I don't get screwed in retirement. But I'm like, for the majority of my life, I'm still getting screwed regardless. There's no benefit to all this.
Oh my gosh, it's humorous, but it's painful at the same time. No, I understand, man. We can talk about this for a minute because I think a lot of people can relate to it. You know, having to do the best in school, grades are super important, always studying, etc., etc. I'm trying to think where I want to go with this. First of all, I guess like the first thing is you talked about school being a plan B for you, but do you honestly believe that you could be a musician full-time?
Yes, I could. I'd want to be like Calvin Harris, you know, maybe getting on the Billboard and all that. I do think maybe one day I could do that.
Fantastic, man. I believe in you as well. It's just I do think it takes that internal belief, right? We gotta believe in ourselves so we can do it before we actually do it. That's the key thing. I guess another thing as well, how do you deal with the pressure from whether it's parents or students or teachers, you know, to perform well in school? How do you deal with that?
I just do well in school and then they shut up.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, the effort is the important thing, right? And do you feel like school has any importance whatsoever, or do you feel like the education system is just broken?
I do. It does have an importance. Like, there are stuff I like to learn, but there are stuff I'm doing because I'm advanced classes and I'm like, why am I doing this? I mean, I would love to learn advanced, you know, maybe biology, chemistry, maybe physics and all that. Or maybe advanced mathematics and advanced social studies and history. But what am I going to do by learning advanced English if I'm never going to be interested in it? Like, you can make me go and you can make me do all this stuff, but I'm not ever going to be happy while doing it. So why am I doing it? And it's not going to benefit me at all. I'm just doing it so I get to tell people, yep, I got an IB diploma. I'm like, cool, but Who cares?
Yeah. No, makes sense for sure. Talk about grades for a minute, KJ, because there's two things I want to bring up with you. One is happiness, because we've been talking about it today. But the other one is grades, because I've been having conversations with a lot of my friends, everyone from high school to university or whatever, and they're feeling like they have a lot of unhappiness with the grades and how a lot of people value grades and thinking that grades equal the quality of a person. Where do you weigh in on that conversation? How important are grades?
Grades, I'd say, do kind of like, I mean, I'd say like there's way more ways to see how, I say we should grade people, but on maybe their studying, because we need to know how well we're doing and where we need to improve ourselves. But there's so many better ways we could see if a person knows something or not. Some kids will be better off explaining you how to do something than to actually write it on a test. Some kids will probably be better at making diagrams out of something than, you know, there's so many ways we can see someone's learning, but we all dumb it down to one standardized test, which is like, sure, I can guarantee 80% of the class what the hell's going on, but the other 20%, I mean, and the other 20% might just need a bit more of a push, but the 80% out of that, only 40% will be getting A's because the other 40% will be, you know, that's just not how they express if they know something. They don't fill in bubbles. They don't, you know, write down answers. They can show you it. They can draw diagrams of it. And you know what? In the real world, you don't do calculations by filling in bubbles. You do it by actually doing it. What matters is you know what you're doing. And you get the answer that you need that's gonna help other people or help the project you're on. So why are we just doing one way for everything when in the real world people use multiple ways to do things?
Yep, absolutely, man. And I mean, you've done the same thing with music, right? Like, you didn't take a test, you didn't take a class to be good as a musician. You were just out there making tracks. You were just out here, you know, creating content and just practicing through trial and error. I agree with you. You know, I think the output is the important thing. I think the effort and the real life stuff is the important thing, not a graded test, you know, not a report card or whatever, for sure. And on happiness, because that's the other side of the conversation, you know, because we have mentioned a lot today about, you know, you don't enjoy this, so why are you doing it? Or you do enjoy this, you want to do it more. What does happiness mean to you, and how important is happiness?
I just say like this. Can you do it? If someone told you could do this for the rest of your life and your expenses are paid and you could do whatever, would you do it? And I'd be like, yeah, I would do it. Then cool, you like it. Would you be able to do it for 4 hours straight and, you know, be happy with it, not feel that you're being forced to do it? If you could do that, then yeah, you like it. And yeah.
All right, man. And happiness is, do you think happiness is, how important is happiness to you?
Very important to me. I'm like, if when you've been like, you know, when you've not, I've never been happy. So I guess, and I realized wasting time over people who aren't gonna make you happy, or wasting time over things that aren't gonna make you happy, is probably not as good as spending times on things that will make you happy, as long as it don't hurt yourself or hurt anyone else.
Right, man. Right, for sure. Wasting time being unhappy is not the best time investment, for sure. All right, KJ, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, man. We dug into so many important and valuable topics. At the end of every episode, as you know already, we do a fire question round. I'll ask a very fast question. You give a very quick response. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's go. 3, 2, and 1. What is your favorite color?
Rainbow.
What is your favorite food?
Lamb.
What is your favorite day of the week?
Friday.
What is your favorite movie?
The Godfather.
Favorite song at the moment?
Everything I Wanted, Billie Eilish.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Billie Eilish.
What countries do you want to visit?
Probably a lot of countries in Asia and Europe, and definitely Eastern Europe.
What languages do you speak?
I speak Hindi, I speak English, and pretty much any Northern Indian language.
And what is something you want to do that you have not done yet?
Probably go perform at Coachella.
All right, man. Fantastic. KJ, thank you so much for coming on today, bro. Any last words, anything you want to personally say to the audience, please say it now, my man.
Yeah. If someone tells you there's a course to learn music production, it's a scam. And just have fun in music production. Failing is probably the best tool you can have to learn.
Those are some incredibly wise words. Please, guys, listen to them. Failing is great as long as you learn from it, improve, and do better. KJ has done exactly that. He has just gone from knowing absolutely nothing to knowing so much, and the level of his music is insane. It continues to improve exponentially with every new song that he releases. I implore you guys, please keep an eye on him. Follow his accounts. Follow him on SoundCloud, Spotify, everywhere, and keep your eyes on this kid because he is going places for sure. Everyone, thank you so much again for watching. As you know, I am Benjay. I will see you on next week's episode, and please take care. Hey guys, Benjay here. Thank you so much for watching that episode of the Creators Lounge podcast with special guest Kjords. If you're enjoying the podcast, please consider donating to my Ko-fi account, link right up there, or dropping a donation on PayPal. Every little bit helps, and I'm using all the donations to make better content for you guys, so if you could spare even $1, I would appreciate it. If not, that's okay as well. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.